Friendly hello hi, my name is Frankie and today we're going to talk about shark finning. Well, I guess more like how shark movies affect the rates of shark finning, but it's like the same thing. So first off, what is shark finning? Because you probably don't know. I know because I'm a nerd, but you probably don't know, so I'm going to explain it to you. So basically, shark finning is the practice of catching and then cutting off of a shark's fins and then throwing it back into the ocean where it dies a slow and painful death by drowning. Morbid, I know. So shark finning is like, it's done for the purpose of making shark fin soup, which is a delicacy in China and Hong Kong. It has actually been in China's history for about 1,000 years, and it's a status, basically like it's like a social standing thing. Like if you can afford shark fin soup, you're wealthy and you have high social standing, right? But recently, because of obviously like now more people can afford it, rates of shark finning have gone drastically up. Because more people can afford it and more people want it, because it is still an indicator of status. A bowl of shark fin soup can cost up to $100. So it really is like, if you're seen eating that, you're like, you're a big gun. You got the money. And while like maybe at first you might think like, what's the problem? About 73 to 100 million sharks are being killed a year at this point to compensate for the high demand. And that's a problem for our ecosystem. Lots of shark species are being pushed further and further to being endangered and even close to being extinct. So why is this a problem for us? Like, why is this a problem for our ecosystem and for humans in general? So this practice, if it continues the way it is, will have really major effects on our ecosystem. Sharks are a really integral part of our ecosystem. They've been around since before the dinosaurs, and actually they've been around since before trees, which I did not know. That's a little fun fact for you. I just found that out while doing research for this video. But yes, they have been around for a very long time. They are a very integral part of our ecosystem, and without them, they will have major, major effects. So because they're extremely resilient apex predators and have survived about 4 mass extinctions, they are kind of like at the top of the food chain in marine life. Like they pretty much control fish populations, turtle populations, seal populations. Like they are the apex predators along with some others like whales and orcas in the ocean. And so the way that they kind of control these populations is, for example, they feed on turtles, and turtles really, really like to eat seagrass. So sharks can regulate the amount of seagrass that turtles are eating because they learn to stay away from those meadows. And those seagrass meadows actually contribute to our carbon cycle and keep carbon out of our atmosphere, which is a really important thing, especially now with climate change speeding up. Like it is a very, very important thing. Sharks are also really helpful to coral reefs, believe it or not, because they will control the fish that eat the smaller herbivorous fish that live in the coral reefs. So without sharks in the coral reefs, those fish can take over, eat the herbivorous fish, and leave those coral reefs vulnerable to things like storms or weather events or even human influence, really. And coral reefs are another thing that are dying extremely fast in the modern age, and people really care about the coral reefs, but don't seem to really care about sharks, which is a little bit of a discrepancy that I will get into a little later. But yeah, just know that sharks are really helpful for things like coral reefs and grass meadows. They're also like extremely beneficial for the economy. I didn't know this, but it kind of makes sense now that you think about it actually. Like, so a shark alive is actually way worth more than a shark that's dead for shark fin soup for the economy. So like sharks in aquariums, or even like sharks at like tourist attractions in lower income countries where people vacation a lot, like the islands kind of down south. Like I went on vacation once and actually swam with sharks, and that was a really fun experience. And so that's kind of like a tourist attraction. People can see the sharks. They can not really interact with them because they kind of stay at the bottom of like the pool where you swim, but you can see these animals in their natural habitat, and it actually costs a bit of money. So it is a great tourist thing, and aquariums are something that has been around for a long time, and people love to go to the aquarium. I love the aquarium, especially the sharks, like going to the shark tunnel. So sharks are worth way more for the economy alive than dead. But people don't seem to care about that, and we'll get into why right now. So basically, there's really no public outcry for sharks like that I have seen, besides like obviously like scientists and marine biology papers and stuff like that. And most people I talk to don't really know about this problem. I mean, I know because I'm kind of a shark nerd. I love sharks. I have since I was younger. But a lot of people don't know about this problem. And I think the main reason why is shark movies. And so movies like Jaws, Deep Blue Sea, Shallow, like all of these movies have insane effects on the shark population and our societal view of sharks. So almost all of these movies that I just spoke about, and a lot more too that I haven't mentioned, kind of depict sharks as the adversary to humans. So like in Jaws, the shark is the villain. Like the shark is going after the humans and they have to kill the shark because it's killing people on this beach. And so that in our minds as a collective society kind of paints sharks as these smart, like dangerous, evil predators that are like really out to get us kind of, and that is completely wrong. It has catastrophic effects actually on sharks. So let's take Jaws as the example because that's the biggest shark movie that everyone really knows about. Jaws is a huge thing. After the release of Jaws in 1975, there was a huge widespread panic about sharks. Like we'll call it shark panic. Like people were afraid to go in the water. They wanted sharks dead. They really didn't like sharks, and they kind of perceived them as, like I said before, these very intelligent beings when they're not. They're kind of more like big fish. So let's compare them to a dog. So whereas like an orca has a very similar and sometimes even more advanced brain than humans, sharks actually are more like dogs in that their main focus is really just survive, swim, eat, reproduce. Like they really don't think about things the way that we do. So in comparison to their brother apex predators, orcas, like I mentioned before, orcas have emotions. They actually have a different part of their brain than humans do that processes emotions that we can't even fathom. So orcas are very, very emotional, social creatures, and so are dolphins because they're mammals. And so because they're mammals, they have these developed brains, they have these developed emotions, and they have consciousness of who they are, whereas sharks don't have this. They're not mammals, they're fish. They're big fish, and fish are notoriously kind of stupid. And sharks are obviously not dumb, but they're not these cognizant killers that like hate humans or want to eat humans that like people think they are. And that's a very, very common misconception with sharks that I would really want to clear up right now. Sharks don't eat humans because they want to. Humans aren't part of their prey. There are two main reasons that shark attacks humans. And the first reason is because we may look or present ourselves as their prey. So it has been shown that from below, a surfer on their surfboard may look like a seal, or a diver with flippers may look like a seal. Or the other reason is curiosity. Sharks don't know us. They're not used to us. They live in the ocean. They have the whole vast ocean. We go to like the shoreline or in a boat, but we don't really get out of so they're not used to us. They don't know what we are. So they come up and they experimentally bite us. Now, the problem with that is that they have so many teeth and are so strong that it does damage to us. It will take off our leg, but it's not a malicious bite. It's a curiosity bite. It's almost like when a dog comes up and you put your hand out and they sniff it and they're curious as to who you are. It's the same thing as that. Like they are not trying to eat us. They are either curious or think we're seals. Like those are the only two documented and recorded reasons why sharks will attack humans. However, because of movies like Jaws, this is completely thrown out the window. People are so afraid of sharks. And you can see that in the fact that shark finning really, really ramped up in the 80s, 5 years after Jaws was released. Like, people really stopped caring about the well-being of sharks because of their fear. And now here's the kicker. Because of movies like Jaws, Open Water, Deep Blue Sea, and because people fear them, I mean, hell, I go to the beach every year and I get into the water and I still, somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm like, what if there's a shark gonna bite me? Even though I know better. So it's very hard to get these preconceived notions out of your head, even if you do know better. Culturally, we see sharks as threats to us. We see them as dangerous. And so because of this fear, people don't care about conservation efforts because they think we're better off without sharks, despite all of the scientific evidence to contrary that notion. And I mean, I was doing research for this project and my dad was trying to argue with me that sharks were killers, you know, they're evil, they eat men. And I'm like trying to explain to him this is not true and he's just not getting it. So it's very much ingrained into people that sharks are dangerous because of these movies. And even though the movies I mentioned are older, in like the 1970s, the 1990s, and the 2000s, there are still movies coming out like this. There's The Meg, there's The Shallows, there's 47 Meters Down. As early as 2018, or as late as 2018, these movies are still coming out. These movies are still being released and people are still seeing sharks in this bad light. They're seeing them as killers. Hollywood is perpetuating this idea that sharks are dangerous to us. And on some levels, they are dangerous. You know, they're stronger than us, but they are not directly trying to hurt us. We are not prey for sharks. We are things in the water that they don't understand, or we look like seals. We look like their prey. And it is really disheartening because this practice of shark finning is really, really sad. Like, I know when I was younger, I used to kind of sit at my computer and look up all the different stuff about sharks, and I found out about shark finning, and I found a video where they just cut the fins off and then drop it back in the ocean. Like, sharks can't survive if they don't swim, and so they drown there without their fins, and it's really, really inhumane, and it's a really barbaric practice. And it's hard for me to believe that there isn't more outcry about this, but then when you take a look at the precedent set by movies like Jaws, The Shallows, 47 Meters Down, you understand why, because people are afraid of them and think we're better off without them, when in reality that is absolutely not the truth. I mean, hell, I was doing research for this video and I found out that sharks are contributing to cancer research. Apparently sharks are extremely resistant to cancer, and so scientists are studying them to see if maybe we can take something from them, or we can somehow study them to see how they're resistant to cancer and then apply that to humans. So they're extremely important to us, not just ecologically, but biologically. They can be very, very important to us in helping stop diseases like cancer, which is almost like a death sentence if you get diagnosed with that. Like, it is just a very, very saddening that sharks are seen in this way. And so, as I said, as someone who has loved these animals since I was a child, I really, really hope that this video has spread some sort of awareness about sharks and the fact that they are not in the way that they are portrayed. They are not evil killers. They are just fish. They're big fish. They're big, dorky fish. And I love them, and I think you should love them as well. That's all we have for you today. This is, ever since I was a child, hammerheads were my favorite. Fun fact. That's all I have for you today. I hope this was informative. Thank you for watching.